What if Deku had the Omnitrix power? What's up, everyone? Welcome back to Nothing But Anime. We're continuing our What If Deku Had the Omnitrix's Power series with part 8. If you're enjoying this, don't forget to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to stay updated on all the latest videos. Let's get started. The hero team wins. The students saw Lucy and Uraraka floating in the air outside the building with Lucy's arms stretched and touching the bomb as Ida exiting the building, while on another screen, Izuku standing next to an unconcise Bakugu while the watch was on the red. Got it, Lucy shouted as she grabs Uraraka and reverted herself to the ground. Release. Achiko said with difficulty as gravity returned to them and the two girls landed on the ground. Ida showed up and saw that weapon was in the hero's hands and knew that he lost. I lost, Ida said with his head lowered to the ground. Yay, we did. Uraraka was speaking lazily before her stomach turned into knots and she threw up onto the street. Similarly like before, the students in the monitoring room was stunned at what just transpired. Wow, what a weird way for this to finish. Both teams suffered big from this while one of them stands completely fine, Kaminari said as they watched as Lucy and Ida comforted Uraraka, who was still trying to stop herself from vomiting while Izuku still stood over Bakugu. What's the old saying? The strongest lasts the longest. Tokoyami said. This class is intense. Azui said before they felt a huge wind gush blow as they saw All Might not in the room anymore. At the building, All Might was watching the medbots carry Bakugu away as they spoke. He turned around and saw Izuku looking at the watch in deep thought. I'll break that watch of yours, and if I can't break it, I'll take it from you. Izuku remembered the words Bakugu said to him before he left him in that trap. I wanted to put you in your place. Bakugu shouted at the face made out of goo. My place? And that's where? Izuku asked, confused. Under my feet, Bakugu said. What? You heard me. Under my feet. You're Quirkus and that makes you useless. Just because you got some watch that turns you into freaks you think that you're hot shit. I don't think so. So, it's make job to remain you that you are useless. You were always useless and that you'll always be useless Deku. Is that what you think I am Kakin? A useless nobody that you can bully on as much as you want? Izuku said as his fists started to shake as anger started to build up. A useless, defenseless, Deku. Izuku was really getting mad until he felt a hand on his shoulder. Are you alright young Midoriya? All Might asked his successor as he saw the shaking fists. Why, I'm fine, Izuku said. Good. We need to go and show your results. Remember to take this experience and use it in the future young Midoriya. All Might said. Yes sir, Izuku said as the two started to walk out of the building. At the monitoring room, Midoriya. That was awesome. Midoriya. Man, you guys okay? How are you not die? The rest of the team were walking into the monitoring room and were bombarded with questions from the rest of the class as soon as they entered the room. All Might resumed the class without Bakugu who was in the nurse's office getting his arm treated. Uraraka was drinking a water bottle to get the fluids back in her body after the backlash of her quirk stopped. Ida had an orange juice box to get the fuel he used back as well and Izuku and Lucy were in the room. All Might looked at the screen and begun to discuss the breakdown of. Well, despite the results and what we just witnessed, the MVP of the test is a tie between young Ida and young Midoriya, All Might yelled. The class didn't look too surprised about Izuku from being called the MVP expect the boy himself but some were surprised at Ida being MVP as well. I understand Midoriya, but how'd Ida get MVP as well? Azui asked the pro. MHHH valid question. I choose those two instead of one? Who has a guess? All Might asked. Sir, I can tell you why. Momo raised her hand at the request. Go right ahead young Yaoyorozu. All Might said. Let's talk about the villains first. When Bakugu left Ida as the two had a huge advantage in this test, it left Ida to defend the bomb all by himself. I will say that the plan to clean out the room out for anything was smart as it left Uraraka with nothing to use with her quirk. Bakugu clearly led a personal grudge he has against to cloud his judgment but that allowed Midoriya in turn to predict that Bakugu would come after him first and only in this test. That allowed Midoriya to make a plan to counter him like making that trap of crystals. Midoriya used his quirk well throughout the test, from trapping Bakugu with the crystals, to changing into that orange dog to track the weapon down and into that green goo to absorb the explosion that Bakugu used and to capturing Bakugu and put him out of the test was smart. While I'm there, I'd say that the attack was probably the most dangerous thing to do as if the weapon was real. It'd kill not just them but everyone in the city block. Now to the hero team, Lucy and Uraraka worked well together as their plan to make Lucy disgust herself into Bakugu and trick Ida into thinking it was him in the attempt to calm the weapon was smart but I saw that Lucy said something that caused Ida to be cautious and aware that it was them. They used their quirks well in the fight and combined them into calm the weapon in the end was well but it was a risk as well. Out of all of them, I'd say that Ida and Midoriya were the best. They used their quirks well, made plans in case their foes were onto them and were focused on their roles in it. Momo said as the students looked at her in a state of stunned shock from her report of the results. Ida was crying happy tears and saluting. Izuku's face looking like a real tomato from the praise and embarrassment from Momo's report as he was blushing and steaming was in the air with it coming off his head. This girl really does have a good eye. All Might thought while in a similar state of stunned shock. Yes cough yes. Well you overlooked a few things. Young Ida could have relaxed a little bit while young Midoriya could have flew up there and dropped the surprise attack on the villains in the test. But otherwise, you nailed it. All Might said with giving praise to Momo after cough to cover up the high-pitched tone of his voice before speaking. While everyone was trying to process what she said, Izuku was in a different train of thought as he heard something from All Might. I could have used someone who can fly and finish the test faster. One should always start with basics to develop depth of learning and devote themselves wholeheartedly. That's the only way that you can become a top hero, Momo said while her hands were on her hips. Momo Yaoyorozu. Like she said to Izuku on the day they met. She's one of the 4 students who got into you. A high through recommendations. Now then, time to blow this joint. Let's move on to the next match. Think of what you saw, think on what to do and what not to do in your turn, All Might said. Izuku was looking at the watch and the words that Bakugo said kept playing on repeat in his head. He known the guy hated him but he never knew as to why. Izuku kept thinking about until he felt a hand on his shoulder. He looked over and saw Momo looking at him with a slight concern on her face. Oh hey Momo. What's up? Izuku asked. You looked out of it a bit. Are you okay? Momo asked. She thought that the blast did do damage to Izuku. No, I am fine. I'm just on something, Izuku said. Oh okay. Look Izuku, can I talk to you after school? Momo asked. Okay. About what? Izuku asked, confused. Something important, Momo only said. Sure, Izuku said. Momo nodded and went back to the class. Izuku followed her as Mina came to him. Midori, that was so cool what you did, Mina said with a smile. Me. Cool, Izuku thought, feeling a bit better from her words. Thanks Mina, Izuku said with a little blush. No problem, Mina said. Alright, it's Team B versus Team I now. Teams go and get ready, All Might said. Yes sir, the 4 students said as they went to a new building to use for their test. Outside. Battle Building B. Team B will be the heroes and Team I will be the villains. All Might said thought the speaker system as the teams got ready. Inside the building, the guy with a tail was stretching his body for the fight ahead before a pair of floating gloves and shoes approached him. Hey, Ojiro, Hagakure called him as Ojiro turns to the gloves. Let's get serious. I'm gonna take off all my clothes and totally disappear, Hagakure said as she started to take off his gloves and shoes. Yeah, totally. Cool, Ojiro calmly said. He was calm on the outside but on the inside? Hagakure is using her quirk to our advantage but it's kinda weird to know that there are nude girls standing right by me. What am I supposed to do here? Ojiro thought. Hagakure noticed the look on his face and covered herself with her clothes. Please don't look. It's embarrassing, Hagakure said. What's the difference? Ojiro asked. Look alive kids. Show us you're the embodiment of good? Or evil. Let's go. All Might signaled the start of the test. Shoji lifted his arms and the tentacles on his arms as the tips of them morphed into ears. Mizo Shoji. Quirk. Dupli arms. He can replicate different body parts on the tips of his tentacles. Although it's super strange. One of his tentacles changed from an ear and into a mouth as his teammate walked into the building. One's in the north side on the 4th floor and I think the other is on the same level somewhere. Both are barefoot. I bet the invisible one plans to sneak up on us and surprise us, Shoji said as his teammate continued to walk in. For your own safety, go outside. I believe that our opponents intend to fight on a defensive battle, this kid said. He lifted his right hand and frost started to appear from it. Shoji sees this and runs outside as this kid places his hand on the wall of the building and ice started to appear from it. On the floor, his right foot started to have ice as it coursed throughout the hall. But we already won, he said as the ice rapidly expanded through the whole building, freezing it. On the ground, 2 footprints were seen. Ow 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 ow, my feet are stuck, Hagakure said. Ojiro was trying to break out of his trap as his own feet were in the ice as well. His quirk is insane, Ojiro said while trying to break out. He heard footsteps coming towards him as Todoroki walked into the room and was walking to the bomb. Ojiro got into a stance. Pry yourself up if you want. But it'll be hard to fight me with no skin on the bottom of your feet, Todoroki said as he passed Ojiro who couldn't do anything. At the monitoring room, All Might and the students were holding themselves while shivering from the sudden temperature drop. His SS stopped TT them WWW without damaging the WWW weapon or his teammate. Take note of his technique SS students, All Might said while shivering. Whoa, he's strong, Kirishima said, in awe for the display for power from the duo hair kid. Yeah, him, Midoriya and Bakugo are powerhouses, Kaminari said. Izuku was watching the duo-haired kid and was in deep thought. He's obviously trained his whole life to have that much control on his quirk. I wonder how strong he really is, Izuku thought. Back at the building, the dup-haired kid touched the weapon with his left arm, calming the weapon. The hero team wins. All Might through the sound system declaring the victors. The duo-haired kid narrowed his one visible eye and steam erupted from his left hand. Heat too, Ojiro said. He felt the rise in temperature as the ice melted in rapid speed and the whole building felt like a sauna. Ow 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 ow, Hagakure said as the puddle from the ice that trapped her melted and was boiling her feet. Back in the weapon room, Ojiro looked around and saw water dripping. It's not your fault, Ojiro turned around and saw the duo-haired kid looking at him. We're just playing on different levels. Shoto Todoroki. Another of the four admitted to UA through recommendations quirk. Half cold, hell hot. He can freeze things with his right side while burn up the charts with his left. The range of his abilities is currently unknown. Todoroki was walking out the building with Shoji looking at him as he passes. At the monitoring room, holy crap, that guy is kind of intimidating. He got in on a recommendation, so he must be good. The students were in awe at the power that Todoroki did as they voiced their comments to him. It's not just because he's powerful. He knows what he was doing. The students turned around and saw Izuku looking down onto a notebook and a pen in his hand while writing. He obviously did training to get enough control to use his quirk without freezing the next building when he did that. His style looks a bit loose, as if he prefers to use his right side, which from observing is something linked to an ice quirk, while his left side is possibly a fire or high temperature quirk, which he doesn't show, but it's there since the left side of his body is covered in ice. So that means that his body is not used too high heat from his quirk. But the right side could cool it down and vice versa with the ice half axe up. He obviously had his costume designed to withstand temperature changes from himself and mutter. The class watched as Izuku was in his own world as he scribbled at fast speeds that would make XLR8 look slow. Lucy sighed and walked to Izuku and bopped him in head. Ah! Izuku looked around. The bop broke him out of his world and brought him back to reality. You were muttering, Izzy. I thought you grew out of it. But it seems that it's grown bigger than the last time I saw it. Lucy said. Wait, Midoriya. Did you come up with that crazy theory from the top of your head? Kaminari asked, bewildered from what he just heard. Why yeah. It's a habit of mind to analyze quirks and heroes. I'm trying to break out of it, Izuku said while rubbing his head. From the bop. Wait, you knew that the villain team were going to lose, Uraraka said. I thought on it, but I wasn't such if Todoroki was going to freeze the whole building or not and give Shoji a chance to help. But I guess I was right and wrong at the same time, Izuku said. Excellent analyzing there, young Midoriya. On-the-fly analyzing skills is good for a pro when they're in battle against a villain or assisting another hero. All Might said with a hidden tone of pride in his voice. Guess that fanboy mind really does come in handy in this job, All Might thought. Now on to the next fight. Time skip. 3 hours later. Afternoon. It was the end of school. The rest of the lesson went by pretty quick, which gave Izuku the chance to analyze his classmates' quirks as they fought. He was amazed by the power and prowess. He provided a quick prediction to see who he thought would win the match, and 88% of his predictions were correct, but one was wrong when Aoyama freaked out when Mina accidentally burned 2 holes on his cape when she was sliding on the ground with her quirk. The poor boy refused to continue the match until he fixed the cape, which costed them the match. Mina was a bit mad at the loss, but Izuku did comfort her when she returned. Now they were back in their homeroom as the art teacher finished their lesson. Some packed and rushed out the room to head home fast while some stayed to talk. Izuku was packing his things. He noticed a large group of his classmates surrounding his desk, which consisted of a black-haired kid with large elbows, one kid with spiky red hair, a tall and buck kid with brown hair and thick lips, and a blonde-haired kid with a lightning strike streak on his hair, and a girl who had green hair like him but it was in a darker shade than his. Hey, I'm Hanta Siro. Nice to meet ya, the elbow kid introduced himself. Ejiru Kirishima, and dude, that diamond form for yours was so manly, the red-haired kid introduced himself. Name's Rikito Sato. At your service, the tall kid said. Name's Denki Kaminari and I'm a ladies' man, the blonde kid said, trying to act smooth. I'm Tsuyu Ajui, but call me Tsu. We've actually met before, the green-haired girl said. Really? Izuku asked, trying to remember where has he met her before, but she did look familiar. I was under those rocks in the entrance exam, Tsu said as Izuku's eye shot open at the memory. Wait, I remember now. You and Uraraka tried to give your point to me. Wow, sorry I haven't noticed you until now. Thank you for that, Izuku said with a bow. It's the least I can do, Tsu said with her tongue out a bit. But if you saw closely, you could see a bit of red on her cheeks. Wait, you saved her in the entrance exam? Kirishima asked. Why yes, Izuku answered quietly. That's so manly. Bro, you've been a hero even before being here, Kirishima said. Izuku was taken back from the compliment. He has never been complimented by someone except his mom before, thanks to his former status as quirkless. He felt joy from it. TT thanks, Izuku said. So Midoriya, dude, you got to tell us those forms that you transform into. I want to know what they do, Kamiari said. Izuku thought about and shrugged his shoulders. If he got info on their quirks, it's only fair if he gave some to them. He went into his big yellow bag and took out a notebook. This was the notebook that All Might gave to him to help him record the forms or aliens in the watch. He did change it as it had the green hourglass drawn on it. Izuku opened it to a page and showed it to the group. It was a well-drawn picture of Diamond Head. I call this one Diamond Head. I'm pretty such you know why. He laughed as the others laughed along with him. Basically, he's a walking, living crystal life form. He can produce and manipulate his crystals just like Todoroki can. I'm a tank since my body is made of the stuff, but the ones that come off me is slightly weaker, so they can break given if the attack has enough force. But if they still on my body, they're nearly indestructible, Izuku said. Wow, that's impressive, Kirishima said, impressed by the alien's ability. Question. You said nearly indestructible. So, are you saying that you can still break in that form? Kaminari asked. Well, I theorized that if I was hit with enough force then, yup, Izuku said. Oh, what about that fast one? Sato asked. Oh, you mean XLR8? Izuku said as he turns a few pages to XLR8's page. Accelerate? What kind of name is that? Zero asked. No, not accelerate. XLR8. Izuku spelled out the speedy alien's name. Oh, anyway, he's the fastest one I've got on my list so far. And not just psychically. I can think faster, react faster and process emotions faster. I don't know the full speed of him, but the last time I did, I clocked in at 500 miles per hour, Izuku said. The group's jaws dropped at the speed the alien had. Even Ida's dropped when he went to the group to insert himself into the conversation and paled. Mina's eyes went wide at the speed. She knew that the alien species was fast, but she never knew that they were this fast. Achiko and Lucy were right behind her when they heard what Izuku said. Dude, that's fast as hell, Sato said. Yeah, it is, Kaminari said. What about that flaming man of yours? Tokoyami asked from his seat as he listened to conversation. Oh, Heat Blast, Izuku said as Heat Blast's page came. Wow, that's a good picture of him, Mina said as she saw the drawing of the alien. Titi thanks. Anyway, he's a walking star. He can produce fire and heat things up to boiling temperatures. I don't know how hot I can go when I'm him, but I think very hot. He's actually the first one I ever transformed into, Izuku said. Wow, the group said. Over time, Izuku explained the ones he transformed into to them. He didn't tell them the ones he hasn't until as he's saving them of later. Over time, they were satisfied with his answers. He said his goodbyes and him and Lucy were walking out of the school. He had Bakugo on his mind. He went to check on him, but he disappeared when the final bell rang from what Recovery Girl told him. He did feel bad of decking Kaken, but a part of him felt like he deserved it. After that stunt he tried to pull on he and the others was wrong. Lucy looked at Izuku and saw the expression on his face. Hey, Izzy, she said. Izuku was brought back to reality when he heard Lucy's voice. Huh? You say something? Izuku asked. You looked out of it a bit. Are you okay? Lucy asked. No, I am fine. I'm just on something, Izuku said. Oh, okay, Lucy said as she saw someone at the gate. Why do you ask? Izuku asked Lucy. 'Cause you got someone waiting for you, Lucy said while pointing to the gate. Izuku looked and saw that Momo was standing at the gate, looking at the sunset and in deep thought. I'll leave you guys alone. Catch up when you're done, Lucy said, leaving and internally panicking Izuku. Lucy walks past Momo, who notices her. If she's walking out, then that means, Momo thought. She looks behind her and sees Izuku slowly walking out the school and was sweating a bit. He reaches her and stands right in front of her. Hey Momo, Izuku greeted nervously. Hello Izuku, Momo greeted back in a normal tone. The two stood there in awkward silence. Look Momo, if this is Dash, Izuku was speaking, but he was cut off when Momo suddenly grabbed him and smooched him onto her body and held him tightly, which caused him to stiffen. Momo? Izuku said, but he felt shaking. He felt Momo shake. I thought that you were killed. When I saw that green flash and then the explosion and the green liquid all over the room. I thought that you killed by Bakugo. I've never been more terrified in my life until then, Momo weakly cried out. Izuku's eyes went wide. I know that we're working together to become heroes, and just when I thought we were getting closer to that dream. Seeing you run into that blast and seeing you were blown up like that, I couldn't believe it. I didn't want to believe it. She stuttered. She never does that, Izuku thought in shock. He could tell that the poor girl was struggling to hold back her tears. Izuku's natural nervousness faded away, and being the kind-hearted and over-worried boy that he is, he embraced her and stroked her back, and he knew he had to say something to keep this previous girl from crying. Momo, I'm not going to die. Not now, not ever. If things look blink-like and that I'm in a bad stop, just like they were today, then I'll find a way to get out of it. Just like I did today, Izuku said. Momo broke the hug and looked at Izuku in disbelief. But how? What makes you so sure that you can make it out of anything? Momo yelled. Insert music. Fairy Tale OST, theme, slow version. Izuku pointed to the sky as the wind blew by. Because that's what heroes do, Izuku said with a small smile. Momo's eye widened and she could feel Izuku's spirit emitting from him as he stood in front of her as his hair gently flowed with the wind. Even when things look bleak, and there's no hope at all, heroes always finds a way to save those in trouble and stop those who caused chaos and pain. That what heroes do. That what we'll do, Izuku said. In the heat of the moment, he confidently took Momo's right hand, held it with his left one. I cannot, no. I refuse to die. Not until I become the world's greatest hero and both of us become heroes. I promise you on my life, my heart, and on this watch. Izuku lifted his arm and his blazer's sleeve fell down a bit to reveal the Omnitrix to Momo. That I won't die. I'll get out of any situation. No matter how bad things might look, or how terrible it is, I will come out of it. Alive and well, so we can become heroes together, Izuku said with a smile on his face. Momo looked at Izuku in shock. This boy. No. This hero was sure that he'll not die anytime soon. Hearing those reassuring words, she could feel herself brightening up and the worry of Izuku dying slowly leave. She smiled and wiped the single tear that fell while Izuku was speaking. Thank you, Izuku-kun. I'll take you up for it, she said with a small smile. Good to know, Izuku replied. Are we interrupting something? End music. Izuku and Momo flinched at the new voice behind them. They turned around and saw that Ida, Achiko, Mina and Tsuyu and even Kirishima and Hagakure were behind them, staring at them and repeatedly blinking. Nope. They were just finishing talking. They turned to see Lucy leaning on the wall by the gate. Izuku quickly let go of Momo's hand and his face resembled a tomato as it was red and steam was coming off his head. Momo turned away in embarrassment and had steam coming out her head as well. Izuku couldn't even find the right words to say. Is he taken or not? Mina thought while pouting as her heart was beating fast. Achiko held her chest. Her heart was beating fast for unknown reasons. You were worried about him, weren't you? Lucy asked Momo, who looked down. WWL. Yes, Momo said quietly, but everyone heard. All of you were, huh? Lucy asked as she turns to the rest, and those who watched the fight nodded as they too thought that Izuku was killed. Lucy looked at the hurt face on Mina and the concerned face on Achiko. She walked to Izuku and bopped him in the head. Ow! What was that for? Izuku hissed out in pain from the bop. You made everyone worried about you from that stunt. You even made two girls cry, Lucy said. I did? I'm so sorry, Izuku yelled while bowing repeatedly to Mina and Achiko. It's no problem. Just don't do that ever again, Izuku, Achiko said as Lucy looked at her. Yeah, don't scare us like that again, Midori, Mina said. I promise, Izuku said. The girls nodded. So, should we get going now since there is still school tomorrow? Ida said. The friends nodded and they all walked to their stations to go home. Their day is done and they need their rest. To be continued. Boom, that's a wrap. This was a good chapter. I hope you enjoyed it since I'm proud for it. The battles are finished and the day is done. What will become for our hero and his friends tomorrow? Find out next time. I love you guys and thank you for your time. Leave your reviews and I'll reply them in the next chapter. Here's the harem so far. Akiko Uraraka, Mina Ishido, Momo Yaoyorozu. Review, follow, vote on the poll. Please go check out my other stories and stay healthy. I'm Pixel and have a good day/night. Pixel, static. Location. Unknown. In an unknown location. One guy was looking at the television as the reporter was reporting on how All Might was teaching the next generation of heroes at UA. He scoffs. Heroes, all they do is save people and this society that they're safe. Especially with this symbol of peace, protecting them. He scoffs as he brings an picture of All Might. I'll show how fragile the sense of safety that society made when All Might is died, he said as the picture started to turn into dust. One guy was in the room with him and looking at him. Yeah. Good luck with that man, he said as he takes a piece of metal and throws it to the wall. Static. Location. Unknown. In another unknown location. A figure was in a tube for water as wires and tubes were in its body. I want you to go and prepare of the task in 2 days. I want you to assist me in retrieving what's truly mine. A voice said as 3 shadows were in the room with it. Sure, no problem. One said. Pumara kat did it. Another one said. Sure thing, boss. The last one was as all 3 leave the room. Soon it'll be mine. The figure said as images of Izuku and the Omnitrix is shown on screen. That's a wrap on the 8th part. Everyone, if you missed the previous parts, be sure to check out the playlist. And don't forget to support the author for their amazing work. I'll be back soon. Thank you all for your support.